Hello. In this video, I want to show you how to create your own live Linux Devuan Linux. Devuan Linux, it's a fork of the Debian without systemd. This is based on the Chimaera version 4 and actually got updated the repository. To spice things up for this live distribution, I added the Docker installation as well. That's going to be all compressed in our image, so we'll be able to run Docker images. Everything's going to be run from a virtual environment hosted by VirtualHost. We're going to use the scripts in my repository on Devuan OS. The only thing actually going to be added is going to be the address for Docker, which is this one. If you choose not to go to Docker, you can revert back to the original default minimal root installation, Devuan OS, or pick one of the distribution would include X like E17, i3, LXD, Mate, OpenBox, XFE, or not. This video is recorded on Windows using the software ShareX. So let's go ahead and get started. The installation right now is based on this installation of Devuan OS in VirtualBox is using the latest version, Linux 4 Chimaera, based on the kernel Linux 5.10. The installation took about 4.3 gigs, and I created a boot partition, I created a swap partition, and a SDA3, old-fashioned. This is just very, very old-fashioned, just like, and it's very efficient. The memory is taking about 360 megs of RAM on the installation drive, and you can see the output on a screen fetch. So right here, that's going to be our work environment. So let's go ahead and dive into it. This is the box actually we're looking at it. My home directory is in my Devuan I just created. There's absolutely nothing here. Go ahead and get the repo, and from the repo, there's a file that's going to help us get things done, which is going to be the get started. Get started script is right here. I can see it in raw media, which is just a bunch of wgets. You can take a look. Let me go ahead and get the file. Okay. I really don't need to do Devuan get started, and that will go ahead and get all the dependencies, all the files, as well as put the right permissions on of them to the execution. So we got our environment now. Okay. Script number 1 to run the prereqs. Basically, it's going to check the dependencies. Potentially, you can run this one not in a Devuan Linux. You can actually run it from any other Linux. This asks me to run the Devuan bootstrap. Let's take a config real quick. Basically, it's going to be on Devuan boot. It's going to be the live boot and Devuan OS, which is going to be. Let's edit a little bit here. Let's see. This is Devuan boot with Docker. The host version 4. Okay, we can just go ahead and save these settings as the hostname denotes, Devuan OS. I don't know if I really want to call this one, maybe we'll call it Docker. Devuan Docker. That'd be good. That'd be fine. All right, so script number 2, which is basically going to go ahead and retrieve the minimum base of the distribution. If you ever went through the exercise to install Linux from scratch, this is exactly what it does. Start creating a minimum environment to be able to let you root into it, have the minimum things to start do the linking, the compiling, and getting everything wired together. In that one, actually, you root and you do. So this is the first phase, the first part of the installation, but this is using the bootstrap script, which is beautiful. You can just connect directly to the dependencies, and like I was saying, you don't have to use Devuan to do this. You can do this from I've done it before in a previous videos from Ubuntu. This one is actually from Devuan, where you can do it from Debian or some other, some other distribution as well. And basically, as you can see, the files, they're the files that belong to the basic minimum system on Linux. It's actually building, downloading, and retrieving from the internet. And as soon as it gets there, it's going to let me root into that environment. It's going to copy the files. The files include the script 03, which is actually the root. It's actually the one we're looking at right here from the back. The one we want to run is going to be this one, the one with Docker, which actually is based on the previous file. The things that change is actually when we actually tell them to install all the dependencies on Docker. That's what we're going to be doing. So the file that sees there, it's going to put into the root environment. It's going to put us into the root environment once we put all the libraries, and courses, Perl, tar, and we download everything and get into that. It's going to be there. Now, for the record, I have I assigned 4 cores in this virtual machine, and I have assigned 4 gigs of RAM because I want this build to be very quickly. Here we are. You can see we have the scripts. I'm going to use the root Docker. And give it a shot. So what it's doing is actually executing the installation that we saw here. It's going through all the steps to get the dependencies, to get it updates, start installing basic things that we wanted, like getting updates, getting packages that are needed, and once we have everything there, it's actually going to start off. Well, it's going to update. It's going to update some settings, like based on the default config, the host name. It's going to set the image. It's going to do the updates. It's going to install packages like NetBase, Network Manager, curl, OpenSSH, Xserver, NiDX, Extreme Fetch, Spring Terminal, HTOP, Nmap, wget, CA certificates, Git, and then of course Docker, because we want that one with Docker. Also, it's going to make it eventually part of this small ecosystem. Everything is going to be looped within a LiveCD, and eventually it's going to actually be building the ISO image for us. So right now it's actually getting everything together. It would take a little bit more space because it's another 300 megs on Docker, all compressed. We're looking at 520 megs or something like that. But it's not bad because actually you'll be ending with an image, ISO image with 500 megs, which is going to let you run minimal Linux, the latest version of the Linux with Docker out of the box, and it's going to be fully functional. It's going to let you actually do the images, run the scripts or whatnot. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. And of course, for security, you might have some use cases. In this particular script, we're not building any users. It's commented. If you do the user live, just uncomment this one, it will create it, or you can create whatever user and password you want to use. At this point, where you're using the root user, I want to be able to set up the root password to whatever you need it to. So actually, we're taking good CPU cycles. We're almost there. I want to say yes, we want to do English. That's what I want to do. And right now, it's actually going to come back and tell us that actually it's going to download some other files that are going to be required, like Docker. Here we go. This is the part it's actually adding another files for Docker, which is good. That means actually we passed the basic build. We're actually going to the Docker package installation. And as soon as this completes, we go to set up the root password. We can exit out of the root environment and start creating our image. Proceeding with the scripts 4 and 5. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. It was just a matter to download a file, run the file, set up one configuration of the script, give it a shot, and everything just can be brewed and can build in your own environment as your needs. You can actually add it or remove whatnot, some other certificates or some other packages that might suit your needs or your particular use case for a live distribution. Now, this is a live distribution. This is not going to be a distribution that you install in the hard drive and you do the changes. There's a specific use case for that. And I assume for testing purposes, for some specific use cases, that will be interesting to see. Here we come to the root password. Okay. Exit. Script number 4. This is the part where you can really take advantage of a lot of CPU cycles in your machine, because this takes a lot. If it's going to be only one CPU, it's okay. You can do it, but it will take some significant time. For the scope of the video and everything, I wanted to get something really fast, so I have to increase the cores on this machine just to make this video happening very quickly. But potentially you can, if it's one core and just not a whole lot of RAM, it would definitely take some time. This is the part is actually bundling and putting all together for live distribution, and it's actually what all the magic may happen. The last step is fairly quickly for the ISO image. This is actually the squash file system is the one that's going to be taking a lot of I/O and CPU cycles to get there and around. Actually, if I come back and look at this, you can see how in 4 CPUs we're flatlining almost 100% right here, everything that is happening. And this continued building, 9%, but it's actually taking a good hit on your CPU cycles and your RAM. And RAM not as much, but CPU cycles definitely is crunching some data for sure. And it's actually building, it's doing the make squash. Look at that. It's actually taking all the creation of your distribution from 13%. Eventually it's going to jump. We might be able to monitor that quickly on the build. The CPU, when the CPU decreases, definitely it's a lot slower if you have only one CPU, virtual CPU, in VirtualBox. 22%. Eventually it's going to jump from 2630, jump really quickly to 80. That's something weird, but it does do that. We were 30. Eventually going to jump really high. So actually the majority is from 0 to 30, 35% or so. Eventually just goes there. Jumps incredibly. This is no down, this is just crunching, making a squash file system. 35%. 37 is moving. It's a rather slowly process here. And the final description of things was, look at that. It just jumped very quick, went to 65, 66, 198. So here you go, it decreased a lot. 85%, 89, 92. See how quick it went the last part, 100%. Of course, it will leave all the CPU resources here. Okay, so we can actually run the last script, which is actually creating the ISO image, and this is super quick. So we have a 513 meg file, which is our ISO image. It's located here. Let me go ahead and copy this. That's the Devuan Docker for ISO. It's another IP. Oh, 10.02.15. Okay. Okay. I have that map internally mapping from the local IP. So I can get this one here. I copy to the ISO file. Let's go to Portavox, create a new one, which is going to be I Dev1 Docker. And we just build Linux 64-bit. And let's assign 2 gigs of RAM. Actually, do not create a hard disk. And this one, let's go ahead and just point it to the live ISO that we just built, 524. This is it. Here we go. We can boot. Let's see what this does. Let's see what this does. Devuan Docker Live. Good deal. You can see start booting. I can change the photo screen to 150% so you can see the booting. Here I can have you can see there when start updating. If it's something, there's nothing. Of course, it's very new. We just run that. We can do yes. So here we go. There one for M71 packages, bash, almost nothing. Is running 103 megs of RAM with Docker. Tell me if this is not great. Docker images, Docker pull Nginx, and automatically start pulling Nginx. We have a fully functional um, Docker library, right? What was the part would actually run HTTPD? Something very quick. We can do some quick tests here with Nginx. Can do Docker on my Nginx ATM 480. Uh, does this name? Here we go. Docker yes. CRL Host. Here we go. Welcome to Nginx. It's running, right? So, as you can see, that was a very nice way, a very light way to run um, your own building of your own live Devuan Live Linux. It's a live CD in about what was 520 megs in an ISO image. You can install your own packages. You can set up your own variables. You can make your own distribution. Potentially, you can add users. But remote connections, you can set up everything needed, and eventually running with a Docker. Hopefully, you like it. It was very quick, but I don't want to be repetitive, and all the other scripts are up to date. Hopefully, enjoyed. Happy hacking and enjoy Linux and open source. Enjoy definitely Docker as well. More to come. Um, Thank you.